Hey guys, it's Chris Wong. For this video, I'd like to talk about a what if situation of what I would do to prepare myself if I want to retire early from my job and live out of my portfolio. So as a disclaimer, I'm not a financial advisor. I'm just a guy who's interested in building a portfolio. So in my current situation, I live in Canada and I currently work full-time. And I use my full-time job to pay for my bills, and whatever I save from my job, I actually invest it. So all my investments are focused on high yield dividends that either pay monthly or they pay weekly. And I make sure a majority of my investments are based on the indexes like the S&P 500, the Nasdaq 100, Russell 2000, or even the TSX 60. I also have some single stock ETFs and some sector specific ETFs as well. And I make sure they're based on safe companies that I think they're going to be around the long term. So I picked this style of investing to live out of because I don't want to sell shares in the future in order to fund my lifestyle. I don't want to have my lifestyle based on buying low, selling high in order to fund my lifestyle, to fund my retirement. I actually prefer getting the dividends weekly or getting the dividends monthly, and then either use those dividends to pay for my bills, to pay for my everyday expenses, and to invest the rest of it. The next important thing to me is I want to make sure that I can live out of Questrade and live out of Wealthsimple as well. I want to make sure both brokerages are equally funded. In the rarest case, what happens if I can't log into one brokerage account? So at least I have the other brokerage account to back me up. Or what happens if my account gets hacked? Now, I'm not saying this could happen. So the next important thing to me is if I were to still use Questrade margin, I want to make sure the Questrade margin account is protected from a margin call. I want to make sure the buying power available to withdraw is more than 1 year's salary. So for example, if your salary working is at least $50,000 or $80,000, I want to make sure there's an amount more than that, because I don't want to aim for just your salary amount. I want to aim for more. And I want to be able to withdraw a reasonable amount to live out of, and I want to make sure that there's still room in case a margin call could happen due to a market correction or a stock market crash, or if any other emergencies happen, like you have to withdraw out of your margin account. So the next important concept is I got to be able to reinvest something. So I still have to live on less than the dividends. I still have to live on less than how much my margin dividends is paying back. So I would still want to keep the margin minimum buying power available still quite high in order to live financially free. So another thing I may consider doing if I want to retire earlier is I want to make sure there's still plenty of money sitting in the bank account. Now usually as I'm building my brokerage accounts now, I don't have as much cash sitting in my bank accounts because I want to try to invest as much dollars as possible to try to build up my accounts and then rely on my job income to fund my bank accounts. But if I were to retire early, then I would consider setting more money than I currently have in my bank accounts just for emergencies. So some people say 3 months, some people say 6 months, some people say 1 year. It's up to you what feels comfortable and depending on how your investments are. So even if I want to retire later in life and want to still have high amounts of buying power available to withdraw, I still want to make sure the cash is still easy to access. And it's much easier to access cash in a bank account than a brokerage account if I need to buy something right away. A brokerage account withdrawal usually takes at least a couple of days out of Questrade. And so before deciding to retire from work, the most important thing you gotta ask yourself, and even I would ask myself later in life, is what am I going to do if I actually want to retire? So there's no point for me to retire if I'm just going to live out of portfolio and watch TV all day at home. There's still a lot of things I want to do. So ask yourself what your goal is for hitting early retirement. Do you want to travel? Do you want to actually help out people in different ways? What's important to you? How do you keep yourself productive? How do you keep your mind sharp? There's a lot of things out there beyond just going to work. Do you still want to work? Do you like your job? Or do you still want to work part-time so you can focus on other hobbies? Maybe in the future, I may have interests in other side hustles or other forms of self-employment. But the difference between trying to do it in my earlier years or trying to do it in the future when my portfolio gets bigger is in the beginning, it's very hard to get started. It's very hard to get the customers, and it's not guaranteed income. But at retirement level, there's going to be times when there's no customers and there's no stress because there's still guaranteed income. But in the beginning, there's always stress because no customers, then no money, and it's hard to pay bills, and it felt like giving up. That's the difference between not having much in a portfolio and having a decent portfolio to live out of. For another thing to consider for your own early retirement, other than having enough monthly dividends coming in, is consider, do you want anything else in life before you retire? Like, do you want to buy a house, or are you happy to rent for the rest of your life? The decision to how much income you make, what job you do you want to rent for the rest of your life, should be based on your decision, yours only. It shouldn't be the influence of your social circle or your family members. The decision to retire early and to be able to live off your portfolio, very comfortable and continuously reinvesting, should be your decision only. So if your friends and family look down on you just because you want to retire early, you have enough passive income that you can actually live comfortable in an apartment and you don't have to actually work for the rest of your life, and you can continuously reinvest, eventually you might be able to get a bigger place to rent, then who cares what they think? It's your life, so you should be able to choose what you want in your lifestyle or what's considered wealthy for you in order to live off your portfolio. Whether you're investing for monthly dividends or whether you're investing for a total return or you choose not to invest, it's your life. So just because your friends or your family lives in nice big houses and have nice cars doesn't mean you have to keep up with them. It's your choice if you actually want to retire early with a $300,000 portfolio living out of $3,000 a month in monthly dividends. And that's the assumption that you get about 10 or 12% dividend yield off saved funds. If your portfolio is $3,000 a month and all your expenses is $2,500 a month, if you can live comfortably like that and reinvest $500 every single month, then it's up to you if you're okay with that. Life should be about what you want, not what someone else wants. So just because someone wants you to buy a house doesn't mean you should do it. So even if you have a $200,000 portfolio and you want to retire early with $2,000 a month in dividend income off a 12% dividend yield ETFs, then you have to ask yourself, can you live a very frugal lifestyle where you live to pay all your expenses? Is your house paid off? Every person is different. Can you pay off your rent? Can you pay off, is your car paid off? Do you have any credit card debt? All those questions you got to ask yourself. Can you live on less than that and then reinvest the rest so you can prepare yourself for inflation, so you can prepare yourself in case you want something more expensive in life? Also ask yourself too, do you want to continue renting for the rest of your life, or do you want to eventually buy a house, or do you want to make sure your house is paid off first? Whatever situation you're in, because everyone's different. Some people are happy living life, being a renter for the rest of their life, and some people want to get into the house. I've met people who are obsessed with wanting to get a house. And I don't know if their obsession is because of social pressures or they just want to feel like they have a house. So you got to ask yourself, what do you want in life? Because you only get one life. Like, do you want a house because you want a house, or do you want a house because your family and your social circle are pressuring you to get a house? Because to me, that's not a wealthy lifestyle if all you're doing is going to work, trying to build up your portfolio, and then you give up your portfolio or take out a huge amount of margin or a huge loan to try to get a house. I hope you guys liked the video. If you liked the video, please give me a thumbs up. Otherwise, please subscribe to my channel for future videos. Thank you guys for watching.